So why am I going back to the Note Air 3C over all of the excellent Boox devices? This one's too big, this one's too heavy, and it doesn't give you enough benefits over the Note Air 3C to make it worth your while. Just an opinion and not necessarily mine. This one's too small, this one's too old, and it doesn't have color. Okay, it's absolutely fine, of course. But this is just the best that Boox have to offer right now. And it's the thing that will slip straight into most workflows. And it's gonna be the one that I'm going to recommend to most people most times. And it is the one which can slip in and out of your bag most easily. And it's the one that still has enough screen real estate for most tasks that you'd like to do here on an e-ink tablet. That's the current Boox lineup. The Mini C, the Note Air 3C, and they've got the Note Air 3, the black and white variation, the Tab Ultra C, Tab Ultra C Pro, of course, is the latest model, and the Tab X. And the one difference, the Note Air 3 doesn't have the Boox Super Refresh technology, which they all have. So the black and white Note Air 3 is the one that you want to go for if battery life is a supreme importance to you. So the Boox Super Refresh technology is one of the things that makes them great. And it's a dedicated GPU, which it actually speeds up the refresh and means that it clears the white space after, for instance, page turns or after app changes without necessarily having to do full screen refreshes. You can maybe also see a bit of a difference here that the color screens look a little bit darker, and they've all now got all of their front lights right off. And you can see the black and white screen here is that bit brighter, and you do therefore get better contrast between the black areas and the white areas. However, at this size, we now have a screen which does 300 dots per inch in black and white, and there's 150 dots per inch color layer, which is really nice for sort of filling in the gaps. If you look at the way these app symbols are rendered here, you can really see the best of that color e-ink straight away. But if you're someone that needs to read academic documents and they have color figures in them, they are going to be easier to distinguish. For instance, lines on graphs, areas of pie charts, diagrams like this one, they are going to be easier to distinguish what's going on this color e-ink panel. So there you have your choice. But that Boox Super Refresh technology on this Kaleido-free screen does come at a price, and all of these devices have worse battery performance except for the Note Air 3, not the color version, but the ordinary black and white version. And that's probably the reason why they have kept a black and white version in this lineup and haven't put the Boox Super Refresh technology into that tablet. Although I'm sure with the latest chipset, it's still going to give you a good experience of e-ink. And nobody was really complaining about Boox for ghosting with the previous generation compared to some of the other tablets that are out there. And those tablets that don't have the Boox Super Refresh technology, they are absolutely fine for reading and note-taking. So I would say if you're looking for somebody with just reading and note-taking in mind, then have a look at the black and white Note Air 3. You should expect around 5 times longer battery performance without that Boox Super Refresh technology. The Note Air 3C though is the best balance of the bunch though. You get big enough to use apps, big enough to have a comfortable note-taking experience, big enough to read on most documents, and it's big enough for using split screen between, for example, a notebook and a document. Yet it's also small enough and slim enough not to be too much of a thought to put it in your bag. It's also the only one of the bunch that comes with a case that lets you stand it in portrait mode, which is a surprisingly useful mode to have. That's a great mode if you're having to type into one long document, or for standing next to a keyboard for your reference documents. And of course, it's one of the first of the lineup to have color. And when you really want to enjoy color content, you really do need to put up the front lights somewhat. Let's see if we can go to Van Gogh's more mature, colourful period. Stay tuned for details of these optimization settings coming in the content soon. And it does require getting your head around all of the settings to get the most out of every document. Yeah, that's much better. He was almost lost. But still a pretty new thing to the lineup. And although there's no pogo pins on the Note Air 3C for that always available physical keyboard, that typing experience you get on the Tab Ultra C Pro, the Note Air 3C is quick to pair with Bluetooth keyboard. And you could either chuck a really cheap and light one in your bag, or you could have a full-size one available at home. And typing will work just as well as it does on the Tab Ultra C Pro. So let's call up the comparison data, starting with the tech specs. So these are all available on eWriteAll.com, and you can just pick and choose which ones you want to keep in the comparison table. You can see that the Tab X is considerably more expensive than the Tab Ultra C Pro there, or the Note Air 3C, which is the £500 there. Tab Mini C is less still, but it isn't cheap. Tab Mini C is in between the Note Air 3, the black and white, and the colour version. They all have the Kaleido free screen, apart from the Tab X and the Note Air 3, which are on the Carter 1200 series. All of them have the front lights. They all have pretty powerful processors, but the Tab Ultra C Pro is the more powerful one. And this is a newer generation than the Tab X and the Tab Mini C. Storage and RAM are smaller on the Note Air series than they are on the Tab X, but they're the same as the Tab Mini C. So the Tab Mini C you should see as a mini version of this. Got a lot of the same benefits. Is the battery large enough? Well, the interesting thing is, although the Ultra C Pro battery is larger, you are getting about the same runtime on the Air 3C. And similarly with the Tab X, much larger battery, but you aren't seeing considerably much more time on that. I don't know whether there is actually something to do with the size. I know it's driving less resolution than the other ones are. I think there's something to do with the length of the wires perhaps in there, extra resistances. Generally, I think it's harder to power a larger device. All of them have speakers and microphones. The keyboard folio is only available with the Tab Ultra C Pro. And of course, I've discussed that the Note Air 3 does not have the super refresh technology. And that should mean that it has a better battery life than others. I haven't tried it yet. I'm not sure if I will get to, but I would predict that would be the case. All of them have Bluetooth. The very latest ones have the fingerprint scanner and an SD card slot as well. And only the Ultra has a camera of any type. If you want to use it as a scanner as well, there's a reason to go for it there. All the A5 devices are a similar sort of weight. Actually, the Tab X, although I've said it's big and heavy, is only 100 grams heavier for that increased size, so it doesn't feel like a massively heavy device when in use. And the Tab Ultra, because you're likely to want to keep it in its keyboard case to take advantage of that, it does feel like a heavier device because it lives in that case. And the Tab Mini, of course, is lighter, but it's nowhere near as light as its previous A6 generation. The latest Note Air 3, Note Air 3C and Tab Ultra C Pro have Android 12, whereas the previous Tab devices have only Android 11. They have all the same software features as well. They're all now on the 3.5 software release. You can also share them all with Miracast to any screen that supports that. Excellent website. I am a little bit torn here, but the people have spoken. I'm kind of sure my heart is still saying Tab Ultra C Pro is the one for you. What I mean is, it's the one that I want. But actually it isn't as balanced, and it probably doesn't fit as well in a kind of tech combo, as I have to use my work laptop at work, and I probably can't get away with everything I need to do on this e-ink tablet. It's not really its fault, but there's certain softwares and all the integration with, you know, Wi-Fi networks and things that are just so much smoother about using my work laptop that they give me, that I have to really rely on that. And well, the Android ecosystem isn't really enough to support everything that I need to do at work yet. It doesn't sort of plug in and stream to my board because, of course, our school is set up by our technical staff to just run smoothly with the laptops. So this doesn't plug in and just stream directly to the board. And all of the boards at school don't use Miracast that I can use from this. So I can't get away with just using it for PowerPoints and things. And also I can't just plug it into the OTG. And yeah, it would be nice, Boox, if you could add that feature, please, that we could just plug in a USB-C dongle to HDMI and share the screen that way, please. And sure, it is true that this size of screen isn't quite big enough for really truly switching between apps and using two apps simultaneously in every single app anyway. Not quite the same way as using all that screen real estate on a laptop or with an extended desktop like this one. But that's all on its way. E-ink for laptops, I think, is on its way. It's not there yet. And as I say, the people have spoken. The Note Air 3C is the more popular choice. And sometimes the more intelligent and more evaluative of us, we need to be able to admit when we've actually lost the debate. And that's what I've done. And now I concede that this is probably the more relevant device for more people. And so that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing this whole going back to it and using it for work for even longer than the initial 2 weeks that I did to evaluate it. And I hope that's going to be really useful to you all. I'm going to go much more in depth with my own use case and what I find out as I do so. For many of you though, it might be a pair of Boox devices is the best combo for you. And I think perhaps if money was no object, getting a Tab X and getting the Tab Mini C, that might well be a good choice. You'd still have the color for reading, you'd still have the color for all those apps, and you'd get the screen real estate on the bigger Boox device. And of course the notes sync across your Boox account. That being said, I haven't actually mentioned any of the smaller pure readers that are out there. So Boox make, for instance, the Palmer, which is a palm size reader, and that could go really well with the Note Air 3C, and that would make a really nice combo as well. They also have Page, which is a sort of Kindle Oasis size e-reader, and Poke, which is an ordinary Kindle sized e-reader. That might well be an option for you, a pocketable device and a color device, a device for your pocket and a device for your desktop. And you'll find real world reviews of all of these on my channel. And also recently I did a bit of an accidental durability test as I skated my Note F3C across my driveway. And I can tell you it's definitely made out of aluminium. And the case itself did a reasonable job of protecting the device, but came off a little bit worse itself. But it's absolutely fine. I've had no problems with the way it's working, no problems since that little accident.